Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey Naps with After Hours podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the Hollywood animation industry.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business,
And whatever we feel like. Now today we're going to talk about...
I shot a gun for the first time.
Janet shot a gun for the first time. Holy smokes.
And it was pretty crazy. We're going to get all into it, but before we do it, make sure to smash that like button.
Over there.
Over here.
Over there, yes.
All the way down there. I can't reach it anymore.
Oh man, that's what happens when you get old.
Uh-oh.
All right. So, guns. Hot topic. People hate them. People love them. In America, we really love them. I can't cuss for the first 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, weak. Okay, we'll get there, everybody.
But you're going to have a really great week.
How great of a week?
A really great week.
How good do they look?
You look really great.
Let us know how good we look in the comments below. Thank you so much.
This is Valentine's week for us, and you may have noticed the set is very different. And we are here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And we like Arizona. We like to visit Arizona every once in a while because freedom. And it's just calmer here.
Yeah.
It's inspiring for us.
I feel like people are a lot less uptight here in Arizona for some reason.
Yeah.
And there were moments where I totally forgot there was a worldwide pandemic going on.
Yep.
Even when people are wearing masks just because of how friendly and kind people are.
Yeah.
People in LA are just so uptight right now.
They bark at you when you go outside. So even though...
Wear a mask!
Yeah. Or like, you're too close.
You're too close to me! 6 feet apart!
Yeah. So I avoid going outside at all costs, even though the restrictions have kind of been a little bit not as intense lately. But because we are here, Vincent bought a lot of cool stuff.
Oh, yeah, yes. So let me just real quick show you what I bought. I bought a few records that I want to sample. So there's this record by a wonderful, beautiful, handsome Chinese man. Wait, no, this isn't Chinese. This is Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, shame on me.
Looks kind of like my dad.
Yeah. And then here's this beautiful cover.
It's beautiful.
It's really nice. Really nice. So I got tons of stuff. But the biggest prize was this Nas tape that I got. I got 2 really, really nice reel-to-reel tapes. And I got, from Craigslist, 7 Nas tapes.
Oh,
Reel-to-reel tapes. My tape obsession is reaching heights unimaginable by most hipsters in Los Angeles.
Will he fill them all with sound, music, whatever? We will never know.
The answer is yes, one day. But yeah, it's really cool here because we go to the thrift stores and the estate sales and everything. We do basically everything we do in LA, and it's cheaper, and there's more cool stuff.
Yeah, my gosh, it's so much cheaper here than in LA.
So mostly things are cheaper here because of less tax.
Sales tax, yeah. And where we live in LA, I think it's like the highest it's ever been. I think it's more than 10% at this point for sales tax. So you're paying. We got reverse sticker shock coming here. We always get reverse sticker shock coming here.
I also get the culture shock of like, I am a horrible scum of the earth. Los Angeles heathen, Hollywood heathen, and everyone is so kind.
Yeah.
I forget what kindness means, and then I come here and I'm like, I am not worthy of your kindness. Everyone's so. For example, when we shot, we had this trainer with us training us how to shoot and how to have the proper posture and everything. He was so nice.
Yeah.
He was so nice. But yeah, let's talk about guns.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
You're here for the guns. We were here for the guns. Let's talk about some guns.
So the first thing I think we should talk about is where our starting point was in terms of how we view guns. Because if it's not obvious by now, we're from LA.
Yeah.
And
You're encouraged to die and get scooped up by the police when someone breaks and enters your house. And if you try to defend yourself and shoot whoever's trying to break into your holiest of places, guess what? You go straight to jail.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Sadly, you get like shamed, basically.
How dare you defend yourself?
Yeah, how dare you?
How dare you shoot an intruder in cold blood?
Who invaded your most holy private place where you're supposed to feel safe.
Yeah.
So I will start with myself and go all the way, because the brainwashing is deep, you guys. And everyone who's from LA will understand.
Yeah.
It starts in childhood that, like, how I felt was scared. Scared of guns. Scared of... I never wanted ever to have anything to do with guns. That's how I grew up. Because you're taught to be scared of them. In school, in life, in movies, and everything. That, like... It's almost like you come close to a gun and you magically die. Like that's how like how deep that brainwashing goes.
And it doesn't help that, like, I understand, like, bad things happen. People want to do horrific things to be sensationalized in the news, and the news doesn't help. The news, the media just does not help the situation either. If it bleeds, it leads. So when you're growing up, and then do you remember when Columbine happened the very first time?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
In
so
high school, I think, or middle school for me. I don't remember.
What? No, for me it was second grade.
Oh,
I'll never forget
really?
it. Yeah.
I'm probably mixing up a few.
There were a lot,
then.
sadly, but I will never forget Columbine. I was in second grade, and, like, I think everyone. I'm not sure why or whoever ordered it, but everyone was watching. Like, no class.
Yeah.
We just had to watch TV.
So we grew up. At least for me, I went to public school.
Peasant school.
Usually what
Sorry,
you say.
no offense. No offense. No offense. I went to a peasant school too.
Yeah, it was a private.
It wasn't a good private school.
But
Yeah.
But for me, it was like a natural occurrence. Like, occasionally we have some scares, and you grew up going like, had a lockdown the other week. There was like a knife scare, a gun scare, whatever.
Peeping Tom.
Yeah, for you, yeah. For me, it was like legitimate gun scare.
Oh, for me, it was the guy in the trench coat, and then going, ah! And then everyone's like, mice!
Protect the children.
Protect the children.
So, like, and because we do live in LA, it kind of is warranted to fear guns, because the only people who have them are basically, like, people who should not have them, people you should be scared of, and the police. Also, perhaps
people you could be scared of. People who could kill you.
So that's why.
There's not much of self-defense in Los Angeles, is there?
No, because you're gonna go to jail if you do.
And that's not a guarantee, but, like, it's sort of what happens.
Yeah.
I feel like so I wanted this podcast to be like, should you own a gun or not? But I don't think we're there yet, because there's a lot of research that needs to be done. But, like, for the most part, for some reason, if you don't go through the proper channels, if your gun isn't cleared, it isn't safe enough, you are just going to get punished for defending yourself. And especially during the time of the lockdowns and the crazy riot and shit that was going on. You saw in Burbank, Magnolia, the two gun stores, the lines went through for blocks and blocks and blocks. Even though Los Angeles is very like, oh, we hate guns are awful. They immediately buy a ton of guns when it's absolutely necessary to.
That was a sight to behold.
Yeah, like, oh, the hypocrisy is so real. I was like, when I saw the gun line for Burbank, I was just like, what a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, when basically the place where we live is on national news because of Corona time, because everyone in LA is buying guns at this one gun store. It's just kind of funny.
The saddest part is how many irresponsible gun owners
There
will
are now,
leave.
yeah.
Yeah, there are now. So imagine tons of people in Los Angeles with guns don't know how to use them.
Nope.
I remember hearing there. I think Joe Rogan talked about how like a ton of his lefty friends told him like, oh, how do I buy a gun? Dude, can I buy a gun off of you?
Oh my.
Which is like, you can't do that.
No, that's so illegal.
But like they're so ignorant of how this shit works. They're just constantly brainwashed and told like, oh, guns are bad. And then when you feel afraid because people are gonna come into your home and take your bread or whatever it is during Corona time,
It's like the apocalypse.
it's like it's like Contagion, that movie Contagion.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of Walking Dead here and there. What? And then you're like, oh, we need to go to Magnolia, Burbank.
Yeah. Line out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, so growing up as a child, that's how it was for me. And it actually changed around when I started living on my own. When I moved out of the house, I started working, and I had my very first apartment that we started living together in. And that's when I was like, I understood the fear now. Like, I don't have my parents to rely on. It's just me. It's just me and you. And
you come home late at night at Burbank, walking to the apartment. It's really dark.
Yeah.
You don't know what kind of vagrants are hiding behind the bush.
Yep.
You know?
And being like a small woman who looks like a little girl.
You get murked so easily. And then pass out.
Yeah. So like, I'm frail. You blow me.
How much do you weigh now?
I think I weigh like 123 pounds now.
You're a little ass girl.
Yeah. And I can't protect myself. And so I was like, okay, I need to, looking further ahead in life, I was like, okay, this is not okay. How do I be okay? How do I protect myself now that I can only rely on myself? But being in LA, there's not much I could have done at that time. And I remember having this conversation back then. I was working at DreamWorks at the time, and coworkers were like talking about random stuff. We get on the topic of guns for some reason. I don't know why. And I was like, I don't mind guns as much as I did before, because I don't know, like if I ever were to live in my own home, I would want to protect myself. Reasonable thing to think. And then one of my coworkers at the time said, "Oh no, I don't think she has very much experience with guns." But she said this. She was like, "There's this thing I read where studies show that like they don't work to protect yourself, and you're better off getting a dog. That will deter like home invaders and stuff like that." And
which is mostly right.
Yeah, and she said like, if you own a gun, you're more likely to have it taken away from you and like used against you or whatever. And I'm like, I am a small girl, and that seems very likely. And I didn't know anything about guns at the time either. So I was like, okay, you sound like you've done your research and you know more than me, who I'm not. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Don't take any of my advice ever about... Never
take an artist's advice
about
life,
about anything. Art.
I don't know why you listen to us, to be honest.
So I was like, okay, I still kind of lean on the side of guns are scary. And then it changed again when we moved out of an apartment into a home where it's truly just you and me now.
Yeah.
With no dog.
Yeah.
And that was a kind of fear of that I didn't know would happen.
It's crazy. When we got the home for the first time, sleeping there for the first few nights is not like scary, but kind of because like nothing's gonna happen to you that day. I mean, like what are the odds of that happen? But then like it hits you like I'm gonna be here for a good while, and it's just gonna be me and you. We should figure out security or something. We're artists. I mean, you're artists too. I mean, we have Macs, we have expensive stuff.
Yeah. We have a lot of, all artists kind of have a lot of expensive stuff.
They kind of need it to make art, right?
Yeah. Just by default. And then I'm useless in that situation. So it's kind of up to you.
Yeah, and I began the routine like every evening, locking everything up, making sure everything's like really tight and all that.
Very paranoid. Because you have to be.
I need to be. I guess that's what like dudes do. I mean, like if you're a dad, that's like your fucking job to protect your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And asking me to become Laura Croft in a short like amount of time is unreasonable. So we were like, okay, maybe we're starting to inch more towards like, okay, guns are important for protection. But we were still on the fence about it until...
I think I wasn't. I would tell you all the time, especially with the line, I was kind of getting some FOMO. But I told you, like, babe, especially during the height of the riots and the lockdowns, I was like, we need to get a fucking gun now. Yeah,
until Corona time. That's when it kind of changed a lot for us. Because, like, literally, at that time, you could drive to downtown LA, and they were happening. Like... scary things were happening. Our town, LA, was starting to look like LA back in like the 90s.
Yeah. I haven't seen LA this bad since I was little.
Yeah.
And in ways it's much worse.
It's worse, yeah. And I check the Citizen app all the time.
Right. So how much crime is going on in the old Burbank, Glendale area?
A lot.
So all you living in animation...
You're not safe.
You're not safe. And guess what? There's no means for you to defend yourself. So good for us. Living in California is so great. It's so great.
Literally. So I'm a weirdo, and I like to keep up with local news on top of normal news. I actually like local news more because it's more relevant to things we should actually care about. And I had followed local news a little bit before everything has happened. And when everything happened, with the way our government is in California and everything, there was a huge, and continues to be a huge, uptick in crime. And it's scary.
Right before we left, we straight up saw like 3 cop cars in a row behind one, like 2 small ones, one big sheriff, one of those big sheriff vans. And then we were like, oh, what's happening? Is there a shooting? And then we saw there was just 1 car in front. I was like, what the fuck? Excuse me. And then we saw straight up cholo, teardrop, everything. Like, and it's not, we're like, and this isn't like, we're serious. Drug dealings happen all the time where we live.
Yeah, we're not saying cholo as a derogatory.
No.
Like it's literally.
It is what it is. What my friend calls a foo.
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend calls him a foo.
And this is like literally a block away from where we lived, and we live in the safe part of LA. Yeah. The safe part, the suburban part, and we were like, oh my God, right outside our doorstep. This is the new normal. So, when that happened, when we saw the line on national news of our local Burbank gun shop, we were like, that's right there. Yeah. No. It's not even right there. That gun shop is 5 minutes away from Nickelodeon Studios. Yeah. And Cartoon Network.
It's 5 minutes away from Nickelodeon Studios, 7 minutes away from Cartoon Network, about 15 minutes away from Disney, about 25 minutes away from DreamWorks, and what am I? Oh, that's right. About, again, 5 minutes from Warner Brothers.
Yep. In the center of Hollywood.
Yeah. Where Hollywood people work. Burbank.
Yeah. And it was crazy. I was like, what do you think you're going to do with that here? in LA.
And you don't even know how to use it.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to talk about. When I was taking Saiping Luck's class for painting, there was this really lovely young gentleman who I talked to about motorcycles, because he came in with a motorcycle, because he had like the leather jacket and the helmet, and then he was sitting next to me once, and we just had a chit chat, and he talked to me about how he rides here from, I forgot where, really far on his motorcycle all the way to Pasadena to go to this painting class that I did. And I remember asking him, aren't you scared that something might happen? And I know something like you're probably fully in control, but people are ridiculous and you don't know what's going to happen. Or aren't you just scared, period? And he told me, like, not really, because I respect my motorcycle. Like I treat it, I don't fucking speed because it's fun or anything. I don't do any like stupid shit because, for whatever stupid reason. I respect my motorcycle. I enjoy riding it, and I take it seriously, when I'm driving it. And then when he talked to me about that, I didn't want to say it out loud, but then I didn't know how to explain my feelings for guns, because it's not like, a lot of boys really like guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of boys really like guns, but I don't think it's cool when you go gat fool, I got a gun. No, I'm really into like the professionalism, the respect that people have for this thing. And it's interesting that, like, when our tutor was talking to us about how to operate a pistol, that's like rule number one. And then that immediately when he said, like, the first rule is you respect the thing. Like, this isn't like a toy. And I was like, well, obviously, number one, but second of all, I remember that conversation about the guy with the motorcycle, also something very dangerous. Kill somebody, kill yourself. Yeah. But yeah, that's really fucking important. Like, I really think people did go in line for the FOMO, to be honest. Yeah. Like, and then they just kind of have a gun in their house.
Yeah, just like the toilet paper.
And it's like I kept telling you right before you shot, because I've shot 4 times before this, that, like, you are never going to feel anything. You're never going to feel more power than you do when you have a gun. It's like, it literally, if you're a first time shooter, it will make you tremble. Yeah. Like, guaranteed. Yeah. It's so I don't want to, like, explain to everybody how you felt, but, like, I remember when I shot a gun, it was my cousin took me when I was like 15 to Vegas, and then in Vegas there's tons of shooting ranges, and I picked like I knew like the obvious thing, like I just want to fire a Glock. I didn't want to do anything. I think my cousin fired a shotgun or something crazy like that, and then an AK after, and then I just simply wanted to fire a Glock because I just wanted to get my feet wet with it, and then I knew how to sort of really handle a gun, because in growing up in middle school, I had a really, really good friend who taught me all this stuff, but with BB guns. And then way back I told you this story, way back in the day, I almost broke my arm because in the cul-de-sac that I would hang out with my friends, we would have little BB gun wars, and then we'd be in skateboards, and I would skateboard and shoot people with BBs, and then I fell and almost wrecked my arm once because it was extended, and that was really bad. And I was skateboarding and shooting. But the craziest part was, like, a police officer, and this was like, let's say 2005, let's say, a police officer came and was like, "Boys, what are you doing?" And then we were like, "We're just playing." And then the officer was like, "Are there orange tips in each and one of those?" And then we were like, "Yes." And then the police officer was like, "Okay, carry on. Don't do anything stupid." Then drove away. 2005.
Yeah, different time.
2005. No way you could do that shit today.
No.
When I was a young boy, we had many a BB gun fight. And, I mean, it's not uncommon. You see, like, my favorite BB, there's a BB gun scene in Fooly Cooly. Like, it's something little kids do. But you just, like, I wouldn't let my kid do that now.
No way.
Yeah, no fucking way. But yeah, like, I've my friend Eddie Spaghetti taught me how to shoot a gun. Like, I told you, it's mostly like golfing, right? It's mostly posture.
Yeah.
So he told me most of the basic stuff, and then I shot a gun for the first time, and the first thing that struck me was the weight of the thing. It's very like not like very heavy, but then you picked up a Nerf gun. You picked up, and then maybe you picked up a BB gun. You pick up a real gun. That's a serious fucking thing, then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember like picking up a Glock, and it's not that big. You've seen a Glock before. It's not that big. It's a standard police issue gun. And then I picked it up and was like, damn, this thing is like made out of metal and shit. Like this is real. And then oh fuck, I forgot to get the bullets from the car. I got everything but the bullets. Damn it. Sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway, and then I remember shooting for the first time, like really like being taught, like my instructor at the time told me what to do and review what the proper posture was. And then I shot for the first time. And then I'll never forget the recoil of just like, I fired BB guns, I fired Nerf guns, I fired squirt guns, whatever. But when I shot this real gun, it had a force.
Yeah.
And then I remember trembling a little bit because it's like, that's really intimidating. Not because you're scared, but mostly like if you've ever fired a gun before, it's the force. For example, when you were shooting, there was a little old
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, so I don't want to get ahead of myself at it, but like for my experience, I'll never forget how much power the thing had, and the way I felt emotionally after it. It's not like I was frightened.
Yeah.
I was just really, I don't know how overwhelmed.
Yeah.
With the feelings.
Adrenaline,
Yes,
yeah.
totally. So that's my first time shooting a gun. So when I told you like, oh, we're gonna go Valentine's Day, Arizona, gonna shoot guns where it's just chill, they're more about that here.
Yeah.
Let's do it. But then I told you it's gonna be really freaky at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I had a lot of time to prepare mentally, so I wasn't too like whatever. So like,
What did you do to prepare yourself mentally? Like what does that mean?
So I guess to wrap up, like where I eventually landed, in terms of how I view guns, is after all that stuff happened with Corona time, I was like, okay, I think it might be time where we might get a gun, but I still was like adamant about not getting one unless I am properly trained, because
I mean, like, you're Janet.
yes,
Like I said in the last podcast, you take everything to the nth degree.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, I am not going to be the idiot girl from LA who shoots herself. So,
Or gets a gun taken and gets shot by her own gun.
Exactly. I was remembering this conversation way back when from DreamWorks, and I was like, I will not allow myself to be that person who gets their gun taken away by an intruder and gets shot with her own gun. So I was like, okay, as long as I get the proper training, and I want a lot of training.
You want like that Halle Berry, John Wick
Oh yeah.
training, yeah.
Before I decide to own one. And then so to like dip our toes in the water, we're like, okay, we at least have to go
Try it
shoot
out.
and
Yeah.
see if I like it, even if it's for me. So that brings us to so you're used to guns, you liked guns, you like shooting, you were like so much more ready to be like become gun owners than I was.
Yeah, that's why I was nagging you a little bit during the summer. I was like,
This is
we
scary.
fucking have a house.
Yeah.
We need to protect this fucking place.
Yeah, so you're like we live in LA.
Yeah.
We need to protect ourselves.
The cops don't do shit,
No,
man.
yeah.
They don't do shit.
So after Corona time and after everything that happened,
Thanks so much for telling the cops that they fucking suck. Now they really can't do
now
shit.
they literally don't protect
Yeah,
anyone.
thanks guys. Thanks so much.
So we're literally on our own.
Thank you.
We're literally on our own now.
God.
So yeah, we planned a trip to Arizona. And we're gonna shoot guns. So I did all the research, and I'm like, oh, I found this really cool gun range We pull up, and it's pretty cool. You said it's the best range you've ever been to.
Okay, so first of all, this is how fucking gnarly Arizona is. Tucson, where are we? Oh, Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Scottsdale, Arizona is. Fucking like, we were looking for the gun range. We drive and drive and drive. And then we see and then we see this plaza area with a Denny's, and it has a Dick's Sporting Goods, and it has like, I think, a Hobby Lobby and everything.
Yeah.
And then we're like, wait a second, this isn't like, usually gun ranges are not in, like commercial areas. And then lo and behold, in the corner is this big Target size. No, not Target size. I'm being a little too generous. Maybe a little bit smaller than Target size. Those like express Targets.
Yeah,
that size gun range. So we roll up, we pull in, and we're like, oh wow, it's right next to the Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, and like the furniture, Bed Bath and Beyond.
Yeah, it's right next to Bed Bath and Beyond, and we're like, okay, I guess. So we go in, and the very first thing I noticed, I was like, wait, do you just buy guns here? Because I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything at all. Like, where are the sounds of people like in the shooting range? I don't even know where the shooting range is, because it's mostly the lobby area is just like beautiful area with beautiful guns behind glass and all sorts of I don't know, attachments and holsters and all sorts of stuff. And then we ordered the date night package from this place. So we go up and we talk, and then I see the people shooting in the range past the counter. And what I thought was so state of the art was like how good the soundproofing was.
Yeah.
The soundproofing, I could not hear a single pop. Yeah. No, obviously when we went inside, it was a different story. I'll let you tell that story. But like, I was just really impressed by the construction, and like it looked like a Target inside.
Yeah,
like it looked beautiful. Yeah. It looked like some place where, like, I've been to shooting ranges, and it's mostly like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like you go in and there's a ton of guns on the wall, and you choose one and then you shoot. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm used to. But this was like, you came here to shop.
Yeah. To shop and to practice.
And to try and buy.
This is like your home range.
Right.
So I didn't even, because I've never been to a range before, I didn't even notice that if I step into this building, I'm going to hear the sound of the range. When you told me that, I was like, oh yeah, that's some major soundproofing. Yeah. But the first thing I noticed was actually the people in there. Ah. It's so family friendly.
Oh yeah. It's a family event. Like people come with their like family and friends, and you see some people who are like down to business trying to like polish up their skills and shit, but like it's mostly like a fun family experience.
Yeah. And I saw, so the most interesting thing to me that stuck with me was like, there was a family of like a mom and dad and a young boy. I would say he was like maybe 10, 11 or 12, in that age range. It's hard to tell these days. We've gotten that old.
They look so mature now.
Yeah. And I think it was his first time shooting a gun. And it was like, I overheard the mom being like, yeah, I want to sit in the back, watch him. It's his first time. Oh. And I was like, that's really cute, kind of. Like, it's kind of like you're a man now.
You gotta go fire guns.
Yeah. And I was like, that's really cool. And I saw a woman, probably similar in age in us, like further in line, and she had a suitcase, and it was like her own gun. And she was like coming to practice and to train. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like,
hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we go up to the counter, and like they have it's a date night package, and I think what are these guns called? Pistols?
Pistols. Yes.
Yeah. It's 2 pistols. Mm-hmm. And we had to choose. They had like a whole 3 display cases full of guns that we got to choose from. You chose one that was really cool. That was like an older model, like gun. And have you seen that gun before in other ranges?
Video games.
Only?
Yeah, I've seen that gun in video games, but mostly you know, in every range I've been to, they have a lot of the modern stuff. Like it was this range that they had like one from like the early 1900s that I was like, I need to shoot that. That is cool. Yeah. It's, and like, you know, we're artists. So from a design perspective, I'm looking at this fucking thing and I'm going, my God, that is a sexy ass gun.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then for me, I was like, our teacher was explaining like all the guns. He was so good.
He's so cool.
With us.
Like, a part of me is like, my God, we need to like find that guy again.
Yeah.
Like, he was so great.
He was so cool.
And like, he was great. Continue. Sorry.
And I was like a Glock and all that's fine. I want to try one that we might potentially own one day. And he was like, smart. I had like and he went through and like told us like, this is how you buy a gun. Like, this is the process in which you should think about it and all that. And then like he suggested a gun for us and we tried it out. So he gives us our like protective headgear and stuff.
And then I remember the first thing you told me was like, I can't hear shit.
Yeah, I was like, wow,
I can't hear anything.
I've never had earmuffs this good before.
Yeah.
And he tells us to go towards this like, I want to say like futuristic sliding door thing that you would see in like sci-fi movies. Right.
So you go into the sliding door and then there's two places I think you could enter through it. There's a right side and left side. And then you kind of just have to wait until everything's closed and then it opens the other doors. So I think that's how the soundproofing works. It's just like the range is completely separate and closed in from the shopping area.
Yeah. So like we wait, the sliding doors open, we enter, the sliding doors close,
and then the other doors open. Yeah. Oh man, it's like a ride for Disney or something.
And he brings us into the range. And the funny thing is, right when the doors opened to the range, no one was shooting at that time. I think people were like loading or whatever. So I didn't immediately hear what it would sound like. So I go in and I'm like, everything's fine, everything's normal. And you told me, you were like, you asked me, how do you feel right now when you're about to shoot a gun? And I was like, I don't feel anything. A little bit of like nerves, but like nothing crazy. And then you're like, you're going to feel something when you hear a gunshot for the first time. And I was like, oh, I would like to know what a gunshot sounds like because it's important living in LA.
Yeah, I want you to describe it and how it makes you feel and how often you've heard it before.
Yeah, so we walk in and I'm like, oh, everything's normal. And then he brings us to our lane and right next to us is this little sweet little old lady. And
bags full of guns.
Yeah, yeah, she brought her own.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's amazing. Like, again, so family friendly. Like, if she can do it, I can do it. And I'm not paying attention to her at all. Like, she's done loading, and she starts, like, unloading her gun. And, like, the first time the gun goes off, I, like, jolt. I'm like, oh, my God, that's the sound of a gun.
My feeling, I remember that shot, and my feeling was I didn't jolt, but I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. That was my reaction. Yeah.
And I was like...
But you jolt. I didn't see you because all the while I'm trying to shoot Janet. But I didn't see. I was like probably fussing with something.
Shoot as in film.
Sorry, not shoot Janet. Film Janet. So I should make a distinction here.
Yeah.
I was trying to film you because we're obviously making a vlog out of this. I mean, how could we miss out on this opportunity to make a vlog?
We're filmmakers.
And then, but then I heard. I think it was her who shot the first thing out of everyone, and then. I didn't get to see you. Like, you jumped a little bit?
Yeah. Because I was not paying attention. And I didn't even know what sound to expect. So I was like, oh my God. That's a gunshot.
Now tell me, it's not even necessarily the sound, is it? That kind of makes you startled.
Yeah, it was the force.
Yeah, it's the force.
I felt like a gust of wind or something. And like hearing the sound, being someone who had I was in color guard, know what like a percussion, like a really really loud percussion sounds like, and it sounds like a snare drum.
Really, like if you hit it with all your force,
and you're like standing right next to like the percussion team or something, it kind of sounds like that.
Yeah, if you're ever with a good drummer with a real kit, you feel the like kick drum, you feel it.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like.
But it's like about like 5 times louder and more forceful.
Yeah.
And immediately after that, I smelled the smell of gunpowder for the first time from so that's like the thing I noticed too. I didn't realize there would be so many senses.
It's a sensory experience. Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's a gunshot.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh. Sitting in bed at home, I have heard that sound many a time from a distance. And
distance means like not even a mile away.
Yeah.
Closer than that, probably.
And I was like, that wasn't firecrackers. Because I'd always wonder. I'd always be like, was that firecrackers or was that a gunshot?
Can you help the audience make it like tell the difference between a gunshot and a firecracker?
It's like sharper and quicker.
Not as fizzly or fancy. It's a pop. It's the best way I can describe it. Yeah.
I think when I say it, it kind of sounds like a really loud snare drum, but like if you're standing right next to it, that's what it sounds like. But like from a distance. So imagine like just a little bit of it muffled or whatever. It's like, is someone playing drums, but like just one or whatever. Yeah. I was like, oh, this changes how I view my own city. And yeah, so that was for the first time. You were like, I want to see you shoot a gun first. You were like, ladies first. Especially, it's my first time.
Also, I'm not too like, it's pistols too. It's not like anything crazy. And I've shot pistols before. I was like, I was more into like you take as much rounds as you like. I don't really have to do this.
Yeah.
But then the other guy our trainer was adamant that I do a lot. But like, continue.
So that's when a lot more nerves kicked in, I think.
I see.
It wasn't like a lot, honestly. Like you said, you didn't even notice I felt me. You didn't even notice I emoted all that much during the whole thing. But I mean, I'm me. And so like he was like, who's going first? I'm going first. And he gives us a rundown of like all the basics of proper things to understand. First and foremost, how to hold a gun, proper, like, don't point it at anyone. Treat a gun like it's always loaded, even if it's not.
Right.
Even if you know it's not. All that stuff. And he teaches me how to load it and cock it. Is that the proper way to say it? And I can't.
No hamstring.
I
remember it was a little like, oh my God, what's happening when he's like, hey, okay, like, all right, forcefully pull the hammer or whatever back. And then you're like, eh. And you're like, oh, looks like it jammed. Okay, let's do it again. Just try it. Just really push it back. Like, we gotta be aggressive. Every movement you do with the gun needs to be aggressive. And you go, eh. And then he's like, oh, you know what? Let me just do it for you. And this was before you fired a single round too.
Honestly,
I was like, oh, this is going awful. I'm like filming you a little bit behind you, and I'm like kind of face palming. I'm just like, oh God.
I was honestly so embarrassed because I was like, I lift weights every day. Yeah. Like, this is unacceptable. Again, this is unacceptable for someone like me. And the thing is, it's not that I don't have the strength. It's I have zero hand-eye coordination with my left hand. I have no strength in my left hand because I'm right-handed. So I can't do it, and he does it for me. And he tells me to shoot just one round since it's my first time. So I go to do it. It's a very slow process because he understands. I think he's a very experienced trainer.
And he really understands that like you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah. So I shoot for the first time, and the first thing that I can remember from the experience is the recoil.
Well, no,
like,
first it's the weight. Don't you feel like?
Well, for some reason, I wasn't that surprised by the weight of the gun. I think it's because, I don't know, in Hollywood, you already know what to expect in a lot. Like, you watch so many behind the scenes videos. You've talked to me about, like, the weight of it. And I was just kind of like, oh, you know why, actually? When I was in elementary school, there's, like, the parent comes to school and they explain what they do. Well, my best friend at the time, her dad was a police officer. And he had everyone, like, just briefly hold his gun, I think. Which I think is not... You're not supposed to do that. But,
oh, it was the old days. The good old days.
Yeah.
It was the good old days. Yeah.
So I think I didn't even remember this till just now, but like I think I kind of knew. So I wasn't surprised by the weight of it, but I was surprised by the force of a gunshot, of having to shoot one. It felt like the gun was gonna go flying out of my hands, but like I told him that eventually, and he was like, "Oh, if you're holding it exactly how I'm telling you, it's not. Like, just trust that it's not going to." And that was the first thing. I was like, "Oh my God!" And then like I felt the adrenaline, which honestly I'm kind of used to, because uploading a YouTube video honestly is, every time you get a little bit of the similar adrenaline rush. It's kind of weird to compare it to that. I don't know,
man. I know, it's kind of weird. I don't know if anybody else on YouTube will be like, oh yeah, I get a certain amount of adrenaline similar to firing a gun by uploading a YouTube video.
Well, the best way I can describe it is like Scorsese says this all the time, where like he feels like he wants to puke every single time he has a screening of his movies.
Yeah, he says something like, if you don't feel physically ill watching your own movie, there's something wrong.
Yeah, and he says it happens to him to this day.
In the masterclass, I think.
And I was like, what's really sad is I feel that when upload, because you spend so much time and heart and energy into each project, and then when you're about to go, like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I felt the same kind of adrenaline rush after shooting a gun, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm used to this. That's why I was like, oh, I can deal with this. Because you had seen like your brother shoot a gun for the first time, and he was like trembling after.
Yeah, and my cousins, and I don't blame them. I don't. It's like, it's fucking intimidating, but like for you, and for our trainer, we were both like, the fuck. Like, have you done this before or what? Clearly. It's sort of like when you made love to me for the first time.
Oh God! Okay.
I was just like, have you
TMI.
Have you like done, like you said you didn't?
Oh,
never. God. How do you know how to do all these things?
Oh my God. TMI. Yeah, so that was the first time I shot, and then he gradually stepped up. Like, okay, now that you know you've done it once, we'll do it like we'll have 3 rounds and then 5 rounds, eventually like 10 rounds.
Yeah, that's the first trainer I've ever had who ever did that. Usually it's just like, here's a full clip, kid.
Yeah.
Have at it.
And he had both of us shoot both guns. And what's really interesting is the older gun was so much easier to shoot with.
Probably why he told us, like, you can't have this as a, you know,
self-defense.
as a self-defense weapon. Yeah.
You shouldn't.
Boo. Because it's too easy to shoot, I think it is. Yeah.
But my first time with like the 5 rounds, he was like, how are your groupings for your first, like, as a first time shooter are kind of insane.
Yeah, no, well, even before that, tell everybody how, like, you told the guy that, like, I'm not used to shooting and it's freaky and I feel like the gun's gonna fly out. He immediately, he put 5 rounds and was like, just fucking have at it.
Oh, well, he also, he gave us so many tips. It was amazing.
Yeah.
You might see it. You'll probably see some of the tips in the YouTube
vlog,
video. Yeah. But he said, like, there's this thing when you're training that you do. You count like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and you keep this cadence, and you shoot no matter what when you get to the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And he was like, you do this now. You're gonna do this. So say a cadence to me. And then I say it, and he's like, that's kind of fast, but okay. Now I'm going to load this gun with 5 rounds, and you're going to do that exercise I just taught you. I'm like, okay. Like, no problem.
No problem,
Gotcha.
Chief. Let's do
it.
Yes, sir.
Again, overachiever over here. And he loads the gun, and I do it, and he's like, that grouping is kind of insane. Okay.
Yeah.
And eventually, once he gets me up to like 7 to 10 or whatever, he's like guiding me as I'm doing it. So he's like, bend your elbows, do this, do that, remember this, remember that. And then eventually he's like confident in my abilities, because he looked at my shots and he was like, that's insane for a first time shooter. And then he was like, next time, go for the head.
Okay. When he said next time, go for the head, it was crazy. Let me show everyone how crazy.
Okay.
So this is Janet's.
Oh wait, you're gonna have to. Can they hear you?
I'm gonna talk about it.
Okay.
This is Janet's sheet. When the dude said to shoot him in the head, Janet made these 4 groupings consecutively, without without any hesitation. She shot these 4, and I watched her shoot all these 4 right to the dome chrome, and then immediately the trainer and I went, whoa. I watched you, and I think I got footage of you fucking murking the dude's head with all 4 of those shots consecutively. I hope you're able to edit that in, because that was sick. That was fucking sick.
So he was like, after he was like, okay, he brought the sheet back in. He took it off, and he pointed to it and was like, I train cops. Cops don't shoot this good.
Let me just make this perfectly clear for everyone. Janet shoots better than most cops.
Yeah.
Janet can shoot better than most cops. Isn't that sad for cops? And then what did our teacher say?
Oh, well, you were like, yeah, and I was like, cool. And then he was like, no, that's not really something to celebrate about. That's scary.
And then I really thought about it. I was like, the fuck are the cops doing? Like, if you can't shoot as good as this little ass girl, then what the fuck are my tax dollars doing? Like, what the fuck?
Like, apparently, like, he kept saying, he was like, so I want to say he was very smitten with us, because like throughout the training, I guess, he was like, I wish my other students were as good at following instruction as you guys are.
Well, that usually happens when we're in any class together.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Because we're crazy. Yeah. So if you want to see...
I'll tell you if you're not being loud enough.
So if you can see... This is what happens if you fuck with me.
Now, I think it's really impressive. Like, turn it around. Look at how tight those groupings are. Janet basically went straight down the line, and you don't see it, like, I've had cousins shoot and stuff, and they would have strays because they, didn't know what the fuck they were doing and weren't concentrating hard enough. But, like, look at how neat this looks. This is her first time. Like, this is, like, really, really neat. All of these clusters. Like, there's nothing out out there. And then let's flip it over. You got some good ass headshots. Look at this. That's insane. And then the chest, this guy doesn't have any more lungs. He has no more lungs. So damn. Oh, should I show mine?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me show you mine. My guy has no fucking face. Like his face, just fucking gone. Just fucking gone. Like it's just over for this guy. Face gone. Fucking chest, lungs, fucking gone. And to add good measure to everything, fucking both nuts. Both nuts. Gone. Fuck yeah. I got him in the nuts.
You got him in the nuts. Our trainer was like, "Why? Why?"
Because it was an option. Why did you put a square there if I'm not supposed to shoot there? What do you mean why? It was an option.
What was the exact words he used?
I think it was mostly why.
It was like savage.
Oh yeah. Something like that.
So yes, I know I have like a few stalkers. Don't try to meet me in person, please.
Yeah, I don't even have to protect Janet, to be honest. At this point. So I think at this point we should talk about Janet Chan. Are you going to own a gun?
Probably.
Probably.
I think
What?
yes. I think
Okay.
I think a definitely yes.
So probably you mean like maybe not like in the month.
Yeah. no-
Maybe like in summertime or something like that.
yeah,
I don't know, something like that. Yeah.
With more training
Yeah.
and stuff. But so right after the whole experience was like an hour long.
Yeah.
After that, this is how I felt now. This is how I feel now about guns, having more education, more experience, and actually having shot one myself. I feel that guns are powerful, and you don't ever want to have to use one. But I think guns are respected. I think a lot of people who have never shot a gun before, and a lot of people in LA, like where I came from before, have this weird assumption that about gun owners and guns in general, where like, oh, people want one to be cool, or oh, your Second Amendment right, whatever.
Oh, you're a Columbine person.
Yeah, whatever.
Any preconceived notion, really.
But every single person I saw, whether it was the old lady next to me who was just
Chilling.
practicing,
Yeah.
and all the people in the range with us, and our trainer and everyone, they respect the gun. The people who own it respect it, and they're responsible for the most part. I'm not talking
Not
about,
even for the they're responsible.
Yeah.
Period.
Like, I'm not talking about the people in LA. I don't know.
Oh, I see what you mean. I see.
But the people there, they treated the gun with the respect it deserves. And then I feel protected with a gun, knowing, like, holding it. And, like, I definitely, like, going back to the story about having this conversation with this person from DreamWorks and, oh, you should just get a dog. No, I feel protected with a gun in my hands. And I feel protected. Other people have guns around me.
So let's talk about this. This is really interesting because none of you motherfuckers from LA would ever understand.
Yeah.
So the very first time we saw just some dude open carry was when we were having just brunch at this really lovely place in Arizona. Was this right before the con?
I think so.
Yeah,
like
this was
Phoenix.
we wanted to have breakfast right before the Phoenix Comic-Con, and then we were just chilling having breakfast, and then we saw some dude with a holster and a gun, and I was just like, hey, look at that, he has a gun, and I'm like, he's not gonna shoot it at us. And then I thought it's the same sort of feeling you get with not even the same because cops are, you don't know what the fuck their intentions are. But then like, I just had this feeling of like, he's obviously not going to shoot us.
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid. And then all of a sudden I felt like, hey, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And almost like if anything were to happen, let's say somebody wanted to rob the brunch place we were in, that would be a bad fucking idea.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was like, when I'm in Los Angeles, no one has a gun. And the worst case scenario is if one person has a gun.
Yeah.
You know why? Because no one's going to shoot that motherfucker.
Your only option is to run.
And that's just how defenseless and sad
You feel.
we feel. Yeah. Like just as a person in life, in a crowd full of people, you kind of feel like, oh, if there's a person with a gun, I'm booking it. But then you hang out in an open carry state, and for some strange reason, you feel more safe than you do in the city, in our city at least.
Yeah. Once you know what to look for,
and how much these people give a shit and respect the thing too.
You realize how many people not only open carry or like concealed carry if they had gone through the training, and then you're just like, oh, it's best to assume everyone here has a gun on them.
Yeah.
And then you kind of feel like, oh, so if anyone tries anything,
they're done.
Yeah.
They're fucking done.
It's like a Mexican standoff.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden, like, oh, yeah. Like, I'm sure you could imagine. Use your imagination.
Yeah.
Right.
We're artists.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel now. And so the question, are we going to own a gun? Yeah, probably in our life. And
fairly soon.
Like, honestly, I can see after the whole experience, I was like elated, I guess, because I thought it was cool. And I felt like I learned so much.
You really got into the nerdiness and the posture and the physicality of it.
So I was telling you, like, you know, I understand now why people complain about, like, certain Hollywood movies when, like, certain actors don't train enough and they, like, flinch and all this stuff. I was like, I only was in there for an hour. And clearly I got to a certain level of competency
and confidence.
Yeah, and you were like, oh yeah, me and the instructor could tell. Like, we were both very impressed
by how quickly you picked it up.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, go all the way.
Yeah, man. So this is a pure example of Janet just like fucking shit up because that's what she does. Like, she just takes things so goddamn seriously.
Yeah, my analytical brain was like, you tell me exactly how I get good at this.
Can you help the audience understand what goes through your mind when you're not getting the shot that you want? Because I'm sure some of these shots are like, oh shit, I need a course correct. Because I'm sure you go through the whole like, okay, pitch the gun upward or whatever.
Yeah, so what goes through my mind is I quickly run through literally everything, summarize like what the trainer just told me. And if I do exactly what he says, I'm going to get a good result. So I do all that, and then I do exactly what he told me, and I got a good result. And then I was like,
hey,
okay,
it's just like everything with life, right?
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, now do it again immediately after. Now that, like, that mistake isn't going to happen again. Because you know better now. You know to think about this now. And so every single time, I mean, it's not like it's my first time. So it's not like I know by heart, by memory, like what to do. It's just I know through having learned how to do a lot of different things, how to film, how to make YouTube videos, how to paint, how to draw, how to play music, how to dance, how to do... I've taught myself how to do a lot of things. So this was like no different. So I was like, oh, just run through everything and there you go. So I was like, you know, this is a little dangerous for someone like me.
You're gonna end up like that granny, man.
Yeah. I can get really nerdy. And gun ownership is more about technique and training and nerdiness.
Right. So in terms of nerdiness, talk about our instructor for a second, because you were really impressed and shocked by how like he has passion. He has passion for this thing,
and you could tell like we were really into it too.
Yeah.
So he told us so many interesting facts.
Like the 21. Oh, also, I want to ask you guys this. I'm sure a lot of gun owners are watching. So our instructor told us about the 21-foot rule.
Yeah.
Whereas, if somebody was holding like a knife, 21 feet, that's as much as you can have right before you draw and shoot.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, is that for real? Because I don't know. I mean, for me, like, I feel like I could waste that fool. But then it's just like, oh, wait, no, I have to kind of get the gun from the... I guess it depends on how your draw is. But, like, let us know in the comments down below what you think of if you know the 21-foot rule and, like, which is what you think about it. Because we had, like a long conversation about it. Like, is that for real, or, like, the logistics of it?
I would trust him.
Yeah, of course I would trust him. But it's just in my imagination's just like, wait, is that for real?
Yeah, because we shot at that distance.
Yeah.
Once he told us.
Because we were like, okay, someone's running at me from 21 feet, and you mean you can't tell me I can't pull out my weapon enough to waste this food?
Yeah, so he told us like lots of cool facts like that, and like the family next to us after the old lady left was like really paying attention. Like they were learning stuff, and they had like,
shit, I didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. What was that?
So I think you were up to shoot when he was telling us this stuff, and like he was telling us that, and then like there's like these two teenage boys, maybe college, next to us, and they were like, well, first of all, everyone was staring at us because
we're shooting like we're filming like a bunch of fucking idiots from California.
Yeah. With like some hardcore filming equipment.
It's a little intimidating when you see the equipment we have.
Yeah, and we clearly know what we're doing with that equipment too, and so they're like, wow, that's some... What
expensive
are you guys doing? What are you guys filming? And they were really eagerly listening to what this trainer was saying to us too. And when he told us the 21 feet rule, they were like, oh, the trainer whispering to each other, the trainer just said like, oh, you wouldn't be able to like shoot a guy at like 20 feet if he had a gun and he was trying to come at you.
If he had a knife.
Yeah.
Knife.
A knife. And he was trying to like run at you. They were like learning too with us.
Cool. I had no idea. I was really focused. That's why.
And he just so many things. He was talking to us about like what happens when like the most common occurrence for negligent shootings and stuff like that. And again, he was like really impressed. Like this is a grouping of like 4 inches, and like most cops I teach don't shoot like this, and like really interesting facts like that. And I was like, oh, good to know that I shoot better than most cops. That's
probably more of a reason why I should own a gun now.
Yeah. Should I trust a cop to protect me in LA? Maybe
you probably
not.
Do better than the cop, to be honest.
So yeah, that was cool. So because I was like, I can get really, really into this. I can see myself getting into this. Honestly, there's a part of me that wants to do like Lara Croft training, John Wick training. Like go to the obstacle
Actually, that sounds like a lot of fun.
And don't have that kind of money, but
one day, I promise you, one day we'll make a
like,
whole YouTube video about it.
I want to get buff, and I want to like
some tattoos, a little bit, just a little bit of tattoos.
I want to be like Halle Berry and like be able to run through the obstacle course like that
with your dogs.
Yeah, with my Germans, that'd be great.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a few more things. Like I don't know. What do you recommend, or what do you say to the people who are like, oh, guns are bad? Or the people who where you were at in the first phase of like your brainwashing?
I would say that in the first phase, maybe you have some growing up to do, because literally I had to grow up. I had to live on my own.
But when you have those adult conversations with people, let's say at DreamWorks, and they're thinking like, "Oh no, you don't need that. You just need a dog." We're like one thing what your friend said. I mean, like it's not wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like people who like want to scout which house they're gonna break and enter as soon as they see Beware of Dogs, they're like, "No, fuck that house."
Yeah.
Unless there's like gold bouillons in that house, I'm not breaking and entering in that house.
I would say a dog helps keep the burglars not in your house. A gun helps you protect yourself when they're already in your house.
Makes sense.
So yeah, I would just say don't knock it till you try it, and whatever opinion you have after you've shot a gun for the first time, then that's your opinion. Fair.
That's fine. That's
Whatever.
perfectly fair. I just want you to know what the fuck you're talking about before you just cast judgment on
Yeah,
something.
because lots of people run their mouth, say
Nonsense.
all sorts of things that they don't know anything about.
Yeah.
And that's actually not just about guns. That's most things in life.
Yeah.
Once you get old enough, you realize, oh, people just say shit.
Yeah, man.
Like, sometimes they sound like they know what they're talking about.
No,
and
they
sometimes
don't.
they don't. But
No,
most
no,
people
man.
just say shit.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend this gun range. I think that's going to be the recommendation for this
Yeah,
podcast.
go to a gun range.
Go to a gun range.
Go to a gun range. That's the recommendation. Like, it's not very expensive. To be honest, you're spending $50. That's like, a restaurant. Right?
Yeah, to educate yourself.
And then to really know, like, fuck this shit. This isn't for me. Or to really be like, I understand. And that's such a great enlightening thing to just go like, oh, I understand. Maybe it's not for me, or maybe it is, but at least I understand.
Yeah.
And that's what we want for all of you.
Because as we were leaving...
Make sure you're, of age and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
And then be safe and all
or
that stuff.
with your parents, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
As we were leaving, we were we were just leaving with another couple, older couple, and they're just asking like, what are you doing, what are you filming for, and stuff like that. But like the woman, she was like, oh yeah, I don't shoot guns. My husband's the enthusiast. I think they're scary. So like,
That's cool.
that's fine. Like,
At least she has to sit there and watch her husband shoot. I mean, like, she understands it better than most people in Los Angeles, to be honest.
Yeah, and so, I think her husband was like, it's her first time shooting too. And I thought, like, yeah, that's fine. It's fine if you're still, like, not into it. But it's like, don't knock it till you try.
Yeah, like most things in life. Period. Don't knock it until you try it,
All right, so that's it for this episode of the podcast. Make sure to like this video if you like this video. Head over to honeyandabsinthe.com to buy our merch. I don't know if you can see from this distance, but I am wearing the Honey and Absinthe fight shirt today. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye. Happy shooting.